was the Rotunda, but that shut.
I've heard that shut down.
Yeah, that was a bear pit, man. That was not a gig you wanted to do.
As in, like, people just like
People didn't really.
heckles.
The people weren't there for comedy. It was a kind of like a meal and a comedy thing. So
Right,
they were there for the meal. The comedy was a distraction from their meal. And
Right.
They were not comedy audiences. You got the occasional one which would be fun, but most of the time it was just angry Glaswegians who were just like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, I used to do like gigs like that back in Melbourne when I was starting
Yeah.
out. There was like one gig at a pub, and people would just be like sitting around in couches eating pizzas. Couches, which is already the enemy of comedy.
Bad start.
When you're in a couch, no one's ready to laugh in a couch. You're ready to
No.
lounge.
So laid back attitude, man.
Yeah, and so it was just you turn up, and it was also like really young people, like 20-year-olds, 19-year-olds. They're just there because it's like 2-for-1 pizzas on a
Right.
Tuesday night.
Again, the food's the attraction.
Yeah, yeah,
People
yeah.
love the food.
Exactly. So they're just having 2-for-1 pizza, sitting around on their couches, and then just out of nowhere, the MC walks on and goes, "Guys, who's here for the comedy?" And no one is there for the comedy.
Got pizza grease all over them. They're like, "Fuck no, man."
I came for the pepperoni. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? The
shit,
2-for-1
man.
pepperonis. And then
How
you'd have to
old
do
were you
comedy.
when you were doing that? Were you the same age as the people?
I was a few years old. I think I started when I was like 23, 24.
All right, cool.
Yes, and so I was a few years older than them, and already I had tremendous disdain towards them. That's what you want when you walk
You
on.
have to have no respect for the audience.
No respect. They had no respect for me. I had no
Yeah.
respect for them.
You were there for the pizza as well, really.
That's how I got started. I was eating a pizza, and I thought, well, I can jump up.
Oh man, that's fun. So it was Melbourne was the start, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, you do some. Oh well, I mean, technically, I kind of started in Washington DC.
All right,
So I was doing exchange
right.
I was finishing my uni degree over there, and this was like end of 2014. I just started doing all the open mics and stuff over there. That's a good scene
Yeah.
to start doing comedy in.
I've never heard anything about Washington DC other than it's just like it's a bit like you've got the political bit and then it's rough
Yes.
round the outskirts of that.
Yeah, the southeast is like the rough part, but the rest of it's actually like very quite bougie, quite
Yeah.
swanky, and there's some good comedy
Yeah.
gigs. It's a good comedy town. People don't expect it to be.
No, I would never have thought that.
It's a good comedy town. I mean, like, Chappelle came
Yeah,
from
that's,
there.
yeah. That's the only reference I have is Chappelle telling stories about DC.
Yeah. And he had a mentor, Tony. What's his name again? I'm so annoyed. Tony Morwood, something like
Yeah.
that. I'm so annoyed I forgot his name.
Yeah.
He's like a legendary comedian in DC, and he was Chappelle's mentor.
Right.
But he just hangs out at all the gigs in DC. Like, I was doing open mics
And
with
he's at
this
the
guy,
back.
and he would jump up and just do material.
That's intimidating.
And the guy was like in his 60s and stuff. He's still going.
Fuck.
If you watch the Chappelle Netflix, when he won like the Mark Twain Award or
Yeah,
something, and
yeah.
Netflix filmed the night.
Yeah.
Chappelle gives him a shout out.
All right.
In the crowd, and he's like in the crowd, and I was like, I was doing open mics with that guy a few years ago. It's such a bizarre thing.
Wild. Shit.
Yeah, and he's like, so yeah, anyway, my point is like, there's a real deep history of comedy in that city. It was good, and like, it's a good place to like do gigs because I had like white rooms. Like, you would do a gig where it's like just a white crowd, and then you do a gig that's like it's one of the black rooms, and it's
Yeah.
just a black crowd, and it's like you just get to learn how to handle anything. It's a lot of fun.
I always see American comedians talking about that. Like they do like the black circuit.
Yeah.
And that's just, I've just like no concept of that in Scotland, especially.
Man, it's so weird like gigging in Scotland because I do a lot of jokes about race and whatever. And for those jokes to kind of hit, you need everyone in the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just loads of white people going, yeah.
Yes. That's what I get. It's a lot of white people being like, no, that sounds correct, but I don't feel comfortable. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to laugh because I can't see a black guy laughing because there's
Yeah.
no black guys in the next 10 miles.
So would you like look forward to the black rooms? I think I'd love to play to that because they just sound like wild audiences.
They are wild. I mean, if you're bad, they let you know. If you're good, they let you know. You know where you stand.
Yeah.
Which I think is what you want from an audience. You want
Yeah.
them to be honest with you. Whereas, sometimes you'll do a crowd, just like plain white people and they look at you and you're like, I know you're not into this, but you don't have the courage to tell me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are into it, but they also don't have the courage to tell you.
Or laugh.
Exactly.
And then they'll come up at the end and be like, I loved it. You'd be like,
Yeah.
fucking tell your face.
Yeah. And they'll be like, how much can I give you money? And it's like, I don't want your money. I just want you to laugh and make the show fun. But yeah, black crowds that you'll 100%. I think just non-white people generally are gonna. I don't know what it is, but they're just more happy to be involved.
Yeah. Would you have any gigs stand out for the black rooms that you did?
Yeah, there was this one room. I'm not sure if it's still running. I think it was called like RFC or something like that. It was ran on a Thursday,
Right.
and it was run by the MC was this black guy, and most of the acts were black people, and they were just like so funny.
Yeah.
And like I was just watching it up the back, like watching these like black comics come on and like just absolutely like annihilate, and just like doing like really niche African American references.
Yeah.
And I was learning about black culture from watching them as well, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
And then I go on this like corny white guy from Australia. But they liked me because I was like something new to them.
Yeah.
I was exotic to them.
Yeah, you weren't just like an American white guy.
Yeah. So I could walk on and just apologize for being white. And they were all like, all right, this one's okay. You know what I mean? He's one of the good ones. So I always recommend like if people are doing, when you're starting out, like do every gig, every room.
yeah.
Because I think about those gigs. I found footage of one of my sets from there
No way.
recently.
What have you done with it?
It'll never see the light of day.
Oh, really? Oh, man, you got to put it out. Put it behind some kind of paywall.
Yeah. I mean, I was very bad at comedy, but like I somehow got through the set without bombing too hard.
Yeah.
But I just think, I had a bit of goodwill from the audience who were like, okay, let's give the white boy a chance. You know what I mean?
That's so mad. I can't even imagine what that would be like in Scotland. You just would never get it. You'd
Yeah.
probably get it in London.
I mean, yeah, London for sure.
Is that where you're living now?
Yeah, so I'm living in London now. And yeah, I love the gigs in London. It's great. Like it's really good for like what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because I like to talk about the different
Yeah.
types of people in the room.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about the stuff that's like in the news and is really makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if I'm doing a joke about black people, I need black people in the room. If I'm doing a joke about Jewish people, I need Jews in the room. If I'm doing a joke
Yeah.
about Muslims, I need Muslims in the room. You know what I mean? So I need to have everyone in the room. In London, just because it's such a big city. You just get everyone. You do a gig in Covent Garden, you're gonna get every type of person there. It's like that's why I feel like it's great. Like you can't be racist in London.
Yeah.
Because you'd be too busy all day just getting angry.
Yeah, constantly just fucking everywhere.
They're everywhere. Like so I think that's I learned that a lot from coming to London because I came from Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I thought Melbourne was diverse, but it's actually not really. Then I came to London, I was like, oh no, this is what a diverse, like multicultural global city looks like. And I think that's why, it's like hard to be racist when you're just around everyone all the time.
It's a good bit. Has that ever made it on stage, that bit?
No, it's just a thought that I've had while I'm there. I was like, if I was racist, this would be the worst place to be. Because you couldn't get away from it. You know what I mean?
I watched your special.
Oh, my special?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks for checking it out.
So funny.
I appreciate it.
It was. I know it was a strong start.
The Queen. Do you know the Queen versus Hitler bit? Do you know what? When I filmed the special, that came in at like the 20-minute mark or something of the special.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to open
Yeah.
with the Queen versus Hitler. I need to get the audience to just kind of be on board with me. And look, they were kind of my fans who came
Yeah.
came to the filming, so I think they kind of had some goodwill. But I was just always nervous about opening with that bit.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, when we're editing it together, put that at the top of the special, because if you like that, if you like the first 3 minutes or whatever, you will watch the rest.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you will not watch the rest.
It sets the tone perfectly, to be fair.
Yeah. I just want people to know, like, this is what I do and this is what the whole thing is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be upfront with you at the start as to what the special is.
Because there's so many comedy specials I watch, and I literally said it right. I'll give it 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And if they've not got me in 5 minutes, I'll be like, right, it's not for me.
I think 5 minutes is too generous. It's like got to be 3, 2. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I watch so many specials, and and they walk out. First of this is like that annoying montage at the start of them like
walking to the club,
yeah, and it's like, and then like they walk in and they greet the bouncer, and then they shake their manager's hand.
It's been done.
Yeah,
Just get to the fucking jokes.
And then they walk on, and everyone's clapping and cheering for like 45 seconds. And then they spend a minute and a half just being, oh, thank you so much for coming out. I was like, dude, I've lost 3 minutes. I haven't heard a joke yet, and it's been 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Get to the bit about the Queen being worse than Hitler, for God's sake, okay? So that's what I thought with my thing. I'm just going to go straight into a joke. And the person who gave me the idea was Shane Gillis's special.
Yeah.
Kind of starts in that way too. I loved that special. It just opens.
Right in.
It opens on him doing a bit. It's such a funny such a funny bit about, you know, the age of consent or whatever. It just opens on this bit. It's a non sequitur. There's no context for it. Just go straight into it, and it's like, well, great. I liked that. That made me laugh.
Yeah.
I'm in for the rest of it. Yeah. So I thought I'll try and do that with my own one.
Did that Queen Hitler bit ever go tits up?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. White crowds do not like that bit. Like, I was doing that bit at the Adelaide Fringe Festival.
Right.
And that's a notoriously older white conservative crowd.
Oh, shit, right.
At the Adelaide Fringe. And yeah, they really... So Adelaide is called the city of churches for a reason. It's full of a lot of like white boomers who are like Christian stuff.
Yeah.
And who are also often like the Queen and like the Royals.
Yeah.
And as soon as I mention, if you mention Hitler already, that's a trigger word for them. They're like, well, we don't know how to react to a bit about Hitler. And then you mention the Queen, and they're like, wait, but we like the Queen. There was just too much going on for them. Yeah. They hated it. It just went, and it's like when it's bombing, I'm like, guys, it's in the slideshow. We have to do it. Unless you guys unless we all agree that you just close your eyes and I flick through the rest of the slides, but it's in the show. We have to do it.
And in your head, you're walking at the Adelaide audience knowing this is gonna fucking tank here.
Yeah, there are some nights where I was like, they're gonna like. Again, I would do it at the 20-minute mark of the show. So it's like, I know if they're a cool crowd or not by 20 minutes. I know whether, and it's so like, it's like, if it's not in a slideshow, then you don't have to do the bit.
Yeah.
So you got so much more. I've enjoyed getting rid of the slideshow in the last year because I've just got so much flexibility about what bits I do, what order I do them in. I can just kind of feel out the show more. But when it's in the slideshow, you're locked in.
Closing the eyes and skipping forward is literally the only way to do it. Some people are, sorry, was that a Queen in 2.7?
Did you just say the Queen is twice as bad as Hitler? Wait. So, yeah, there was times where I was like, oh my God, I'm locked into this bit and they're going to hate it. But I don't know. It's kind of also, it forced me to just be a bit more, I guess, brave on stage and just learning how to deal with crowds being tense and not liking me. It's just it's a good challenge to give yourself.
You must have been happy with how that went, just to the special, because it's like, fuck, it's one of the best ones I've seen in ages, man.
Oh, thank you, mate. Yeah, I was really happy with how it went. I also was like, I just thought it'd be cool to have a few bits that are slideshow bits just to break up the show a bit, and so it's just not straight stand up me talking the whole time. And then someone randomly, I did a gig in London, and then someone came up to me afterwards and goes, oh, it's a shame that there was no TV here for you to do the Queen Hitler bit. And I was like, oh, you've seen the bit.
You want requests? Then you bring out the cards. There we go.
He's like, you should put it on like cards or something. I was like,
You actually said that, yeah.
He said that, but then I was like, yeah, but then I'm lugging around the cards of the Queen and Hitler on the tube. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's not a good look. And if you lose them and someone finds them, and like, what in the fuck is this? Because there's so many bits in that. As I was watching, I was like, you must have been like when so you go viral in China.
Yeah.
You like so many bits in that. When all this is happening in your real life at the time, are you like, oh, this is brilliant? Are you like, this is ideal?
Well, when the going viral in China story, so that happened during lockdown, like 2020.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was like, this is crazy. So, yeah, I mean, just for the context for the listeners and the viewers, I did a joke on TikTok about a guy who was selling a prosthetic arm in Melbourne on Facebook Marketplace so that people could fake getting the vaccine. So they would wear the prosthetic arm, go in for their appointment. And the guy was selling it for like $1,500. Like, it was like a legit... And it said like for people, it was like for all the anti-vaxxers.
Yeah.
And I just did a joke about it on TikTok. And then that kind of went viral. And then it got picked up by some news outlets in Australia.
Yeah.
And then it got picked up by some news outlets in China for, I don't know why.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you have any idea how it ended up there?
I don't know how it ended up in China, but I think what happened was, so China was really pushing the vaccine very hard to its population.
Right, okay.
And they used they were making fun of anti-vaxxers a lot in their own media in order to mock and ridicule anti-vaxxers to really get everyone to take the vaccine in China.
Right.
So they saw this story about this nutcase anti-vaxxer in Melbourne selling the prosthetic arm.
Yeah.
But the problem is they messed up the story because instead of saying it was just some random guy selling the arm, they said it was me, Michael Shafar, was selling the arm. And I was like, I was just doing a joke about it.
This is me. Fuck.
Yeah. And they had like screenshots from the video that I had posted in their own article. And they posted screenshots and made it look like I was selling the arm because it's me with the picture of the arm. Anyway, it's the article's still up. The Chinese article is still up there. Yeah. All the Australian articles are still up there. It's crazy. But when that happened, I showed it to my wife. Alerted it to me at first because she was like, "Have you seen like the front page of the Daily Mail?" And I was like, no. So I went to the Daily Mail, my front page of the Daily Mail. And the Daily Mail had a picture of me on the prosthetic arm.
Yeah.
And then when you read the article, it said, oh, Michael Shafar is just a comedian making a joke about the arm. But still, no one reads the article. They just see the headline.
They'll go, picture, man selling arm, that's him.
Exactly. Exactly. So I thought, well, that's at least that. I mean, and I got some messages from people being like, dude, what the fuck's going on? So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then a few days later, a friend of mine who's Chinese says, hey, you know that Chinese social media has now picked up this story and they're saying you're the one selling the arm. So it was all very, very funny at first. And then I thought, maybe it's a bit. Yeah. Maybe it's a funny story. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just like grappling for when you're in lockdown, I was just grappling for anything to inspire a bit. So... But again, I would try to do the story on stage. Yeah. No one believed me.
Right.
So I needed to have the screenshots from all the articles.
Right.
So I had to be like, this is a real thing. And no one believed me. That's why they would Google it.
Yeah.
And then you'd Google it and I would pop up. And unfortunately, that means it stayed as the number one Google search result. If you Google Michael Shafar prosthetic arm, I think I'm still number one.
Really?
Yeah. Brilliant. A couple of years later.
What a mad invention. I think you're going to get away with that.
Exactly. Yeah.
The fucking idiotic, the nature that's gone through that head. The guy's going, this is it. And I'm going to, not even cheap, 1,500.
Can I say, I think the guy selling it, he might not be an anti-vaxxer. He might just be a very smart, savvy businessman because he's obviously realized, okay, these anti-vaxxers are desperate not to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Many of them are also very gullible and stupid. So some of them will want to buy the arm.
Yeah, let's crank up the price.
Yeah, so let's just and it was like one of those proper medical arms that medical students practice on.
All right. Okay.
So it wasn't, I think it looked pretty real.
Right.
I mean, I don't think you'd fool a medical
Someone who's
practitioner.
like constantly all the day is just jabbing arms.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this one's made of like silicone. What's going on
Why
here?
is this one plastic? But it was one of those medical arms where medical students like practice, like drawing blood and
Yeah.
giving injections and stuff. So it was like a proper medical device. But yeah, I don't think it would ever work.
I'd love. And the bit in it, you said someone tried it and failed.
There was a guy in Italy, yes.
Yeah.
So when I was Googling myself,
As we all do.
as we all do, just to see if I was still at number one.
Yeah.
When I was Googling myself, there was a story about a guy in Italy who did try it. So there is a market for this.
In Italy.
Yeah, in Italy.
Italian anti-vaxxers with a lot of money.
Yeah. And so this guy did try it. Obviously, he got caught, which is why he was in the news. But I mean, you only hear about the ones who got caught.
That's true.
So we're making fun of it, but we don't know about the ones. If they were successful, we wouldn't
That's
know.
true.
So it's possible that there are some people who walked in with a third arm and nailed it.
There's probably a nurse out there who is doing it, and I'm just like, this arm feels fake.
Yeah.
I can't say that to this person, so I
Yeah.
have to just inject the COVID vaccine into this arm.
That's actually a great point, because if you were a nurse and you did have your suspicions
Yeah.
that the arm was fake, would you bring it up?
Yeah, you'd probably feel like, oh, could just be some kind of like weird arm.
Could be a weird arm. I don't want to shame them.
Arm disorder. I don't know.
I don't want to body shame them for having a weird third arm.
Yeah. If you can see the other hand just sticking at the bottom of the jacket.
Under the like, what's going on down there? Like
Don't
I
worry
was
about
born
that.
with it. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Don't.
yeah.
So maybe you don't want to shame them, but also maybe you think, okay, well, this person's clearly insane.
Yes.
And I've had a long day.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick a fight. So
There's a lot of paperwork that comes with
There's
reporting a fake arm.
yeah. I think these people the nurses are overworked as is. They don't want to deal with more work. So yeah, I'm sure that there's someone in the world who's gotten away with a fake arm. I'm sure of it.
Love that.
If you've gotten away with a fake arm, just please private message me.
Yeah.
I'd love to get some closure on this bit.
That feeling when you got back to the car, sat back in your car, clocked the door, and just be like, oh my God, I can't believe they fucking fell for it.
And then a week later they die from COVID and they're like, fuck.
I think a lot of people are skeptical of what comedians say.
Mate, I talk about having cancer on stage, right?
Yeah.
And people come up to me afterwards and are like, so did you actually have cancer?
Oh,
Like, can you
God.
imagine if I did, like, I did like a whole show a few
Yeah.
years ago about how I had testicular cancer and like almost died and everything. And can you imagine doing that and then afterwards
I
being like,
nearly said the balls on the the balls on the person. to-
ironically, I'd have to have quite a lot of ball. And can you imagine doing that
Oh my
and then
God.
not having gone through the experience? And like, I'll do, I'm Jewish and I do jokes about being Jewish and like the Holocaust and stuff like that. And then people are like, so you're actually Jewish? Like it's
yeah.
it's crazy how some people are so skeptical.
Yeah.
Like I get it because comedians obviously do lie / embellish a lot on stage.
Yeah.
But I think that there are some core things you can't
Yeah.
lie about.
And I suppose trying to prove on stage that you had testicular cancer, that kind of goes into that dark territory of like, look, look, I'll prove it to you.
Do you want me to like whip out my dick right now, right here? I say those people when they ask if I'm Jewish as well. I'm like, okay, you want to see my dick? Like how much? Just keep showing my penis to people.
They're like, we didn't ask.
Everyone's
It just gets to the end of every show, right, here it is.
because there's like I'm the only comedian who's like been Me Too'd, but I was trying to prove that I was Jewish and lost a ball. It wasn't a sexual thing. No one believes me.
Oh my God. And did that happen quite a lot, that people just didn't believe you had cancer?
A few times for sure. Yeah.
Mental.
And yeah, imagine. Yeah,
Because
I
those
get
are people
people
that came up to you. There's probably some people that left and went, I can't believe he would do that.
I can't believe he would make it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, like I said, there are some core things in your act that if you were to make them up and people were to find out,
Yeah.
you would lose all credibility, not just as a performer, but also
Yeah.
as a person.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, it's like not the same. But remember that like lady, Rachel Dolezal in the
Yeah.
US who pretended to be black or something for like a number of years.
Yeah.
And then people found out she wasn't black. And then she just lost
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Because she was
Yeah.
working in like a black organization or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair
That's
enough.
global. Everyone knows her name.
Yes.
Like all around the world, everyone knows that name
Yeah.
as the woman who lied about being black.
Yeah. And she was like, well, but I identify as black. And it's like, you're kind of just doing,
That's not a thing.
you're kind of just doing blackface at this point. Like that's the equivalent of like me pretending to have cancer if I didn't have cancer. That's like the blackface for cancer survivors. And like, I'm not going to do Jew face and get up there and do the Jewish gear when I'm not Jewish. You know what I mean? I just think it's too risky.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Yeah. Audiences they just don't have sense sometimes, man.
Yeah. Oh, look, this is like 99% of people understand that I'm being truthful here. But then
Yeah.
there's that 1% who are like, wait a minute. I'm going to need some photographs. I'm going to need some evidence before I can laugh at this
Yeah.
stuff.
Fuck.
But I think that's interesting how that's what's always bizarre to me about comedy is that everyone is trying to work out, sometimes people like look at me like, wait, is this a joke or is this a statement?
Yeah.
I get so much of that now. And I think it's hard for audiences sometimes to work out, wait, which is the funny bit and which is just you know, giving context or setting something up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do sympathize with audiences sometimes. It can be hard to watch stand-up if you're not a comedian and understand exactly what's going on up there.
But even your woman drink driving bit, you kind of go, guys, there's a joke coming.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, they're a bit like, kind of like,
100%.
you're in a comedy club, you're in a show with a
Yes.
comedian, and then they just take that statement at face value and they're like,
100%.
oh my God, you bastard. And you're like, just wait.
Yeah.
There's more. That's not the end of the sentence.
I think, because that's a bit about, I talk about how women should be allowed to drink and drive, and I justify it by saying it's the only way for a drunk woman to get home safely, given how dangerous the world is for women.
Yeah.
And so it's a very pro-woman
Yeah.
bit, right? But, you know, I'm also, I guess, trivializing drink driver, you could argue.
Yeah.
But the point of the bit is meant to be exposing how sad the reality is that women can't walk home safely at night. That's kind of meant to be the message of the bit, but people have to be thinking to kind of work that out. You have to like really listen. You have to wait till I get to the end of it.
Yeah.
I also think that being a straight white man, I mean,
It's tough.
man, it's probably the hardest thing to be. I mean, no, but what I think is that being a straight white man, I'm talking about issues that don't directly affect me.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I don't necessarily have the goodwill of the audience until I get to the end of the bit.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing a bit about, you know, the difficulties of being a woman, people are like, yeah, but what the fuck would you know about that? You're a straight white man. And I completely understand that. That's a very reasonable reaction. So it's going to take me, I have to get to the end of the bit before they kind of understand what I'm saying. Yeah. But I also think that it's also it's like also an opportunity to get more laughs, to acknowledge that like, yeah, like I get that you don't trust me to talk about this yet, but just give me a second.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah. Which is also why when I do like Holocaust stuff, I always preface Holocaust material by saying that I'm Jewish and my grandparents were Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
So that people know I have license to talk about.
Yeah.
So I actually, when I do those bits, I remove the hurdle because I like comedy to be as easy as possible.
Because that's a tough one to overcome.
That's a tough
you
one
need
to overcome.
everyone on board before you hit that punchline.
I mean, I could make it really hard for myself, being like, guys, I'm a Nazi. So I'm now going to talk about the Holocaust, but I'm going to make it funny.
Don't worry. This bit's coming up. You'll like it.
So when I can remove that hurdle for myself, I will.
Yeah.
But, you know, if I'm talking about women's issues or, you know, I don't know, the Black Lives Matter or whatever, I have to overcome the hurdle of me being a white dude.
And does that ever backfire? Do you ever, especially when you're doing that as new material, that's a tough one to try and like navigate in front of an audience.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, like, it does require me holding my nerve a lot
Yeah.
when I'm doing it as a new bit.
Because I noticed you enjoy the silence as well. You enjoy kind of just
I only enjoy the silence when I know I'm going to break it with a laugh.
yeah.
But when I'm doing the bit for the first time, I got to hold my fucking nerve
yes.
when everyone is just goes so silent.
Yeah.
And I can see them all praying that like
Please better be fucking
there's
funny.
like, please have a joke coming. Otherwise we're going to feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I feel their anxiety. So I got to hold my nerve when it's like, when I'm trying that bit out for the first time. Yeah, it does require me to just like stay present, like believe in the joke, believe in the punchline.
You have to, man.
Yeah.
Because the audience must see it so many times, even like open mic nights.
Oh, yeah. They've got no confidence in you.
Yeah, and there won't be a good punchline to end that bit. It will just be someone saying something horrible.
Yes.
And that's it.
I think also because straight white guys, the problem is that like there are so many awful straight white male comedians, right?
Oh God, yeah.
So there's so many. Well, I think doesn't James Acaster has like kind of a joke about that where he's like, I know I look like all the other like shock jock comedians, race and gender wise. Like there's so many of those like straight white dudes who just do shock comedy and there's no real jokes. It's just saying a series of awful statements.
Yeah.
And people laugh and clap because they just agree with the ideology behind it. So, and if I walk on stage, people don't know me, which is most of the time because I'm not famous. There is that, concern that I might be one of those, shitty shock jock comedians.
Yeah.
So when I say something like, I think women should drink and drive, everyone's like, wait, what? Or do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've got so many bits where I start off with the statement that everyone disagrees with.
And then you got to, I'm sure I remember Jerry Seinfeld saying something like, say something ridiculous and then prove it to be true.
And then justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah, does Seinfeld say that? Because I kind of took that from Bill Burr's stand-up.
All right.
The way that if you watch the way that he constructs his jokes, he just says the thing that he believes.
Yeah.
And the audience disagrees, and then he justifies it to them, and then they laugh at the end.
Yeah.
The classic example of that bit, not that I think this is the best bit, but he has that bit where he says, people say there's no reason to hit a woman.
Yeah.
Of course there's a reason to hit a woman.
Yeah.
And of course the audience like pulls back
Yeah, they
so
go,
fucking hard on that
"Ooh."
statement because they're like,
Yeah.
are you justifying domestic violence?
Yeah.
And then he's like, you should, and then he explains like, you shouldn't do it. But to
Yeah.
say there's like, what if she fucks your best friend?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not saying that's a good reason, but it's a reason, So that's an example of, not that I would ever do a bit like that.
Next year.
But structurally, he starts with the statement that everyone disagrees with, and then he justifies it. He does that with so many of his bits. And I do like that comedy because it's just like I just want to get to the point straight away. Like I don't want to take you on a journey where we just arrive at a nice conclusion. I want to be like, this is the fucking point.
Yeah.
And this is why. I think I just like getting to the point with stand-up.
Like a special, just fucking get into the Queen Hitler bit and then get
100%. Like here's the thing.
Get to the fucking point.
Yeah. So So I think that's like it's fun to do that in stand-up. But yeah, you do need to hold your nerve when you're doing that, particularly when it's like the first time you're trying a joke out.
Yeah. Are you doing that in your new show as well? Are you doing? Is it well worth the chemo?
Well worth the chemo. That's the show I was touring this year,
right.
and now I'm writing like next year's show, next year's show is kind of that style, but amped up even more. It's really fun, but like the bits that make people most uncomfortable are also now the bits that are getting the biggest laugh by the time I get through the bit.
Yeah.
So that's really
I'd love to have
fun.
seen you in your early days, man. Because if you were just doing some wild swings at the start.
I've had some tremendous bombs.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, but I think that's just all like part of the learning process. Like I know that with the comedy that I want to do, it's either gonna go very, very well or it's going to go very, very badly.
In
I don't really
Adelaide.
have. I don't really have like a me. I'm not in the Goldilocks zone. Do you know what I mean? I'm not in. There's no happy. Like I'm either going to have like a great gig or a stinker. But I think that's the only way to do. I think now that's kind of the only way to build up an audience.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you're like a 7 out of 10 act, then that's fine. You know, you can do the clubs. People will laugh. You'll probably get booked at a lot of places because you're consistent and you're getting laughs and great. But I don't think you can become a touring act with your own audience who loves you if you're only a 7 out of 10 act. Whereas if you're an act who can have 10 out of 10 gigs and 0 out of 10 gigs, at least the ones that are 10 out of 10, you're going to win fans.
Big time.
And they'll stay with you. And when you tour, you've got an audience. Yeah. So that's now the way that I look at everything that I'm doing on stage.
It's a good way to think, because I suppose a 7 out of 10 might be quite passive, like, oh, I like that person, but that's it.
100%. It's like, I like them, I thought they were funny, but you won't necessarily remember their name and you won't think, oh, I have to go see them again.
Yeah.
So for me now, every gig I do, my goal is I need to win some fans in this room who will want to see me again. So there's no point like going out and for me just doing fine.
Yeah.
I need to aim for winning the fans.
Yeah, big time.
And I find that actually when I do that, I kind of do better generally anyway.
Good way to push yourself.
Well, just because like I think when I hold back and I kind of there have been times where I definitely dilute myself because like, you know, they say, hey, you know, I'm doing a corporate event or just I'm just doing a gig where it's like, you know, they've asked me to keep a PG or whatever. Yeah. Like sometimes you do gigs where there's rules and constraints on you. Or sometimes I'm just doing a gig where I'm like, oh, I just need to not bomb because I need to impress the booker or whatever. Yeah. So I'll pull back on some jokes or I won't take the risk or whatever. Yeah. I find whenever I don't take the risk, I always come off stage being like, ugh, I should have done it. Like I hate myself. Like it just went fine. I didn't like kill. Like, so yeah, now I guess that for me, I need to take the risk not only to win the fans, but also so I can just look myself in the mirror afterwards and not hate myself. Yeah, because I mean, we all hate ourselves. Absolutely.
So you have to be able to just hate yourself a little less.
A little less. Yeah.
Right, man. I always ask, so you kind of like touched on a few things there. I always kind of ask, like, guess, like, is there any, like, where's the weirdest place you've done comedy? Like, has there been any, like, venues or gigs that stand out in your minds that I cannot believe that was a show?
That's a good question. I mean, I did a gig, well, like when I started out, like I was just doing open mics wherever they happened to be. Yeah. I did like one open mic quite regularly at the back of a Vietnamese restaurant in Melbourne.
Really?
And it wasn't there was no stage, no lights. There was a microphone with an amp.
Okay.
And you would just like do comedy to a few people but there was like right next to the kitchens, like the waiters would be just walking in front of you to get the food and bring it back. And people would just be eating a banh mi in front of you and you had to make them laugh. I'm like,
and again, they were there for the food.
They were there for the food.
Banh mi, pepperoni pizza, anything but the comedy.
Anything but the comedy. So like that's just, you know, a weird way to try to learn how to do stand-up at the back of a Vietnamese restaurant. I did the whole Fringe Festival in an attic. Yeah. You know, but what's weird is like, that's the weird thing about comedy is you kind of can do it kind of anywhere almost. Yeah,
I mean, the conditions aren't always going to be perfect, but it can be done.
It can be done. Yeah. It can be done. You know, like, like I did I did a whole month in this attic in Edinburgh and it was hot and there was like you could hear the noise outside. Yeah. But I got to do a joke about being a Jew in an attic. So that was fun. So you got to find the opportunities.
Take what you can get.
Where they arise. And again, if the audience didn't laugh at that joke, I was like, I don't need you people here. I mean, like, if you're not going to laugh at me being a Jew.
This is a 0 out of 10 one. Let's move on.
Let's just write this gig off. So, I mean, but then I've done like a gig in like a convention center, like, you know, I've done like this crazy weird gig, which was, but again, it somehow worked. It was part of like a beer festival in like this huge hall, right? and they had set up like a stage and a microphone, but because it was such a there was stalls everywhere selling beer and selling beer paraphernalia and stuff. So it's such a loud, huge hall that they just had everyone sit in front of me in chairs, and they all had headphones on. And so it was like silent disco comedy.
All right.
So I would talk into the microphone, and no one else could hear me, but they were in the headphones listening.
Mental. I've never heard of that.
It was so strange, but it was like performing comedy in space.
Yeah.
Because like no one could hear you. They could hear, and then you would see them kind of like. But because they can't hear other people around them laughing, they're not really part of an audience. It's like doing a Zoom show or something.
Yeah.
So it's just this weird kind of like you're talking to, 50 people as individuals.
Yeah. And it's like a one-way phone call. It's like they're just listening to a voice note.
Yeah. It was like a live Zoom show. It was just
mental.
Bizarre. But I just find that like whatever gig you do, no matter how weird and how silly it is, there is something you can like. If it's different, you will learn something.
Yeah.
If it's different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun.
And do you have like the best gig, like your favorite gig that stands out in your mind?
Oh, my favorite gig.
Or something you're just like, I'm very proud of that one.
Do you know what? This is going to sound weird, but like my favorite gig might have been like the first time I did a cruise show and like actually went well. Like I've done I've done a few cruise shows around Australia, and they're just like notoriously so hard.
Right. I've never even heard of this.
Oh, so I perform like in Australia, like the cruise lines kind of go around Australia, New Zealand, Vanuatu, Fiji, and they book comedians to come and perform on the cruises.
All right, cool.
And the
I've heard of that doing like all the kind of like the Mediterranean ones. I just didn't know there was like just one just going round.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
During the summer in Australia, it's like the same thing.
All right.
So like I got booked to do this cruise show. And I mean, I've bombed on cruises. I've like 0 out of 10. I've done like 30 minutes to silence on a cruise before.
Oh my God.
And to the point where like people just walk out because they haven't bought a ticket. They're just like on the cruise. I'm just like,
there's hundreds of other bits of entertainment on the cruise that they can go and sit through.
Exactly. So I remember like I started the show, and I remember when I walked on the stage, the room was full because I could see them, right? And then you get on stage, you would know this, the lights are so bright. You can only really see the front 2 rows, right?
Yeah.
And then over the course of the 30 minutes, I could see some people in the front 2 rows get up and walk out. And I was like, that's fine. I'm not for everyone. But then by the end of the 30 minutes, performing to, again, silence for 30 minutes, I walked off stage and the lights were no longer in my face and I could see the crowd. And I had walked 80% of the audience. It's like, this has got to be a new record.
That's 80% of the room's gone.
And I think in fact, and this is how I saw some people leave who were elderly people with like canes and walking sticks. And that's how bad it was, that some people who had limps and disabilities.
Just took them a bit longer to get away.
But even they pushed through to leave. Like it wasn't easy for them to leave. But even they were like, I will find the strength to walk. I think my comedy might be the cure to like paraplegia or something.
It's people getting out of wheelchairs like, I can walk.
You know, like Elon Musk is like trying to work out this Neuralink thing that's going to let people walk again. No, mate, let me do 10 minutes of dog shit material
on a cruise.
On a cruise. I'll get these people up and about. So I did that, like just bombed so hard, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so bad at comedy. I can't work. And then maybe a couple of years later, I got booked again to do one, and I was really nervous about it. But and they put me in like the big theater, like 1,400 people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I was like, I have to not walk 80%.
Yeah, you're not getting invited back if you're walking 80% in that room.
And I walked, and I was like, and it was a good show, and I went well, and I was like, it was like one of those moments when you're like, oh, okay, I've improved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those moments where it's like, okay, 2-3 years ago, I tried this and it was just awful, and I couldn't work out how to play to this type of group.
Yeah.
And then I'd worked it out. And I was like, thank God.
Perfect.
It's just I feel like those moments where you feel like you can see.
Yeah, a little landmark in your head, a little milestone.
You can see you've leveled up in some respects.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, yeah, this is good. That's the most satisfying thing.
Yeah. And I always ask guests like what the worst gig is of all time. But I'm guessing that could be one of the.
I kind of covered it in that.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds like an 80% walking. It doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, I still think sometimes I still think about that gig and feel. And do you ever look back to a bad gig and just feel like a shudder or just?
Oh yeah. I've got a few of them. I've got a few of them this year. I just kind of go, oh my God, I can't believe that even happened.
Yes, I had people would come up. The worst thing about performing on a cruise ship is that
away from them.
You are stuck with them. You have breakfast with them the next day. It's the craziest thing.
Oh God.
So I had to. I mean, some comedians will wear like a disguise on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some comedians who. It's one comedian who wears like glasses and a fake mustache, so he doesn't have to and he wears a hat, so he doesn't have to.
But then when the gigs go well, there's no disguise. He's like, hey.
Yeah, I'm a hero. Yeah. But yeah, I was at like the gym the next day after that gig, and just a guy came up to me at the gym and was like, "Oof, tough crowd last night." I was like,
"Oh,
yeah." Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me when I'm trying to get away from that on this treadmill running away.
Because when you get booked for a cruise show, you'll be on the boat for maybe 3, 4, or 5 nights or something.
Yeah.
And so when you get your performance schedule, and I'm always hoping that it's like, I really hope I'm performing on the final night, so that if I bomb, I just get off the ship the next day and fly home. But sometimes you'll say, oh, you're performing on the first night. I was like, oh God, I've got to be funny. Otherwise I got 4 more days with these cunts. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. Oh, that's so good, Ryan. We're nearly done, man. Thank you very much for coming. I really enjoyed this. There's just 2 more parts I get guests to do. Is you can get to suggest a guest for a future episode, someone that you like, find funny. I'll try and get them on for a future episodes. Anyone in comedy at all that you like.
Great. Okay. I mean, I was going to say like Jerry Seinfeld if he's available. I think he's quite funny. Yeah. But who's a really great? I've seen a few great comics in London. One that really stands out, Mike Rice. Do you know Mike?
Irish guy.
Yeah.
So funny, man. I tried to get him on during the Fringe, but never couldn't work it out. But
okay, if
he is insanely funny, man.
So funny. Like probably the first comic I saw in London, I was like, "Fuck, this guy's really, really good." And yeah, love his stuff. I think he's got his own podcast as well.
Yeah, him and Vittorio.
Yes.
I've got one,
Yeah. So, I mean, Vittorio's so funny as well. Yeah, if you get those guys on.
I've had Vittorio on, but I'll try and get Mike on again.
Definitely try and get Mike on.
Yeah, cool, man. And then the final thing is, if there's any films, TV shows, books, albums you like just now that you want to recommend to more people need to hear about, it's a chance to give a wee recommendation.
Ooh, okay. Films, TV show. Do you know what? I've just gotten into the Boys series on Amazon.
Oh, is that on with Homelander?
Yes. Man, it's fucking good.
Yes.
And I'm not like a Marvel superhero guy. In fact, I like this series because it's like it takes the piss out of that format.
Yeah.
It's like very satirical. Highly recommend that.
I genuinely think Homelander is one of the best characters that's ever been written.
Oh my God. I didn't know who Anthony Starr was until this series. My God, he's good.
Yeah.
He's also, I think, from New Zealand.
Yeah. The voice does not match up to what you're expecting when you actually hear an interview with him.
Yes. I saw an interview. I was like, you sound like, because Homeland is so menacing. And then the New Zealand voice is just adorable and cute.
Yeah.
Oh, just that he alone is worth watching.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. He holds that show.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant.
I watched it on the flight over here, and it was so good because it's like a 17-hour flight. I did like Perth to London direct, 17 hours on the plane, and I just watched like 12 hours of the show. Shit. Just absolutely smashed through it, and just the flight just flew by quite literally. It was fantastic.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a new one of that coming soon as well.
I've been, like when you click on one YouTube video that is about a topic, all of a sudden you're getting served only that topic in your out. So I clicked on like one YouTube video that was about that was an interview with him. Yeah. Because I was interested to hear his thoughts on the character. And now I'm just getting The Boys Contact, just like
Yeah.
left, right, and center. And it's like every video now is like, when's the new series coming out? Who's gonna be in it? What are our
Yeah.
predictions? And it's just like I'm now in this like really nerdy
Yeah.
The Boys subculture on
it's
YouTube.
brilliant.
Yeah,
And even though he is such a good character, all the other ones are kind of a bit like everyone's just a bit of a dick.
yeah.
Like, is it Carl Urban that's in it? Is he
He's
the kind of police guy?
yeah. He's also a New Zealander.
Yeah, is he? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great. I mean, I think they're all the show is like really well written.
Yeah.
I think it's also like very funny.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, definitely.
super funny.
Yeah.
And I like the way that it's clearly I like stuff that has a point, that has a message. I like that with my
Yeah.
comedy. I like that with shows. This one, like, it's like clearly trying to make a point.
Yeah.
But I don't think I mean, sometimes it's kind of like rams it a bit down your throat. I don't like shows that are like, this is what you should believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, this show is definitely trying to make points. And I like that. I like
Yeah.
I like something that's trying to say something.
Yeah. And I tell you what, it nails that. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and watch The Boys.
Yeah. So please support up and coming
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. You know, these Amazon, it really needs your money. So
Yeah. You've got a special on Amazon as well, don't you?
I do. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
Go watch The Boys and that then.
Yeah, go watch The Boys and then go watch Michael's show. I think it's on Amazon Prime US though. I'm not
Right,
sure.
okay.
There's some weird geo blocking with it. But yeah, if you follow me on the socials, I put heaps of clips up from that on the socials. Yeah,
Class.
you can check it out there.
Nice one. Cheers for coming in, man.
Mate, thank you for having me.
Yeah, been a pleasure, man. Cheers. Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.